Hello, I'm Donald Leggett, and welcome to our latest London South East CEO interview with Gervais Heddle, CEO of Greatland Gold, AIM-listed gold explorer who have exposure to a unique Tier 1 asset in Australia. Welcome, Gervais.
Thank you very much, Donald. It's a pleasure to meet you and to be here today.
It's great to have you on London South East. So what makes the Haverion gold and copper discovery in Western Australia so significant?
Well, look, I think, Donald, why it's such an exciting opportunity is because of the potential economics of the project. There's a lot of discoveries made every year, a lot of smaller projects, a lot of remote projects where you need to build a new plant in a remote location. It's complicated. What's so exciting about this opportunity is that we've clearly found a large mineralised system, a significant system. You're seeing the best grades in the Paterson. The CEO of Newcrest said, look, we're seeing 10 times the grades, 10 times the grade at Haverion that they see at Telfer itself. Obviously the really exciting part about this opportunity is you found a significant mineralised system that just happens to be 45 kilometres away from one of the largest operating gold mines in Australia, with a mill that's basically hungry for high-grade feed. So there's a fantastic and symbiotic opportunity here for Haverion to supply high-grade gold and copper ore to Telfer for hopefully many years to come.
So this was why the farming with Newcrest was such an obvious, as you say, symbiotic link-up.
Exactly. So after we had the initial, results in 2018, we had some really spectacular results that got a lot of attention from the press. We were approached by multiple parties, but really the opportunity with Newcrest stood out because you just couldn't beat that economics. To have such they've got a plant there that processes 22 million tonnes per annum of ore currently. So that's a very large plant. Even at a 0.7 gram per tonne head grade, they're producing 450,000 ounces of gold. I mean, this is a big piece of kit. And, to be able to supply high-grade feed from that, it's just a fantastic opportunity and means that our upfront capital costs, potentially, relatively low for a project of this size.
It's a year since the farming with Newcrest has been announced. So what's happening on the ground?
So look, right now things are very busy on the ground. Things are also very busy behind the scenes. So on the ground, there's currently 9 drill rigs operating 24/7, around the clock, day and night. Doing infill drilling, starting the step-out drilling hopefully soon. Behind the scenes, there's also a lot of work that both Greatland and Newcrest are doing together to basically fast-track the application for the mining licence and the decline, which is scheduled for the end of this year, early next year. So there's a lot happening, and look, it's a really exciting time to be involved.
So I don't know, we talk numbers a lot, and it's quite a dry old business. But at an emotional level, what's your response to the find at Haverion? How excited are you by this?
Well, when you obviously I'm involved in it day to day, but when you step back, it really is, it's quite amazing the results that we've seen. I remember when we got the first result from Had 1, and that was 121 metres at 3 grams per tonne, and I was just so excited at that time. And that was, these days that's just another intercept. I mean, that's nothing spectacular, but we've seen some fantastic results there, and it really is just one of those, these sort of systems, come along very rarely, that they just keep giving. They're strong geological systems, and they just, they keep giving these excellent results. But it's very rare to see discoveries like this.
So what's your sense of how much the overall gold and copper deposit might be worth? I understand you don't quite have your JORC numbers yet, but Hannam and Partners have done some interesting numbering for you in their latest their note for you.
Yeah, sure. So
what's your thoughts on that?
It's probably not appropriate for me to speculate on the value of it, but clearly the analysts, Numis and Hannam, have both published research on this recently. Both have a price target of approximately 12 to 13 pence per share on the share at the moment. and both have done, I think, really good work at looking at, the potential economics and the potential value of this deposit. What I'd say is it's still early days. There's been a lot of drilling. There's been something like 65 kilometres worth of drilling done already, but there's another, Newcrest has flagged another 80 kilometres worth of drilling in the next financial year to come. There's still a lot more step out drilling to come at depth and along strike. So, I still feel as though in some ways we're still at the beginning of a long process. So, I don't want to start trying to put numbers on this yet, because I think, there's still a lot, there's a lot of work to do and there's a long way to go.
Okay, let's talk some dry numbers, having given people the emotion. Given that Newcrest are up for 70% of the capital costs, to what extent are Newcrest actually de-risking the project for you both?
Well, obviously that's a key part of de-risking the project, but I think the bigger picture is what really de-risks the project for us is having such a professional, world-class partner that we do in Newcrest. I mean, Newcrest is Australia's largest gold producer. They are consummate professionals. They're experts in underground mining, particularly block caving, and they just have, having their expertise and their professionalism applied to this project. Because the bottom line is building a mine is very difficult. It's a very challenging thing to do it and do it right, particularly, in jurisdictions like Australia, there's a lot of permitting issues, and, they are really doing an excellent job on the execution. I'm spending a lot of time with them at the moment, talking about all the different pieces that have to come together. And look, it's great, and that's the key to de-risking it. But I think, from standing back from an economics perspective, the project is de-risked primarily by the fact that there's already a big processing plant nearby. So we don't have to build a new processing plant. And, that means that the CapEx costs are relatively low for a project of this size, which is, that's the big thing which really de-risks this project. Plus the grades. I mean, high grades de-risk a lot. High grades.
And that de-risks for Newcrest as well as for you, the fact that they've got Telfer down the road.
Exactly. And so their key focus now is just how quickly can they get this done. And I think that comes across very clearly when you listen to the presentations from Newcrest.
So in monetary terms, how much are they in for and how much are you in for?
So far they've completed 2 stages. They've spent over $20 million US so far. To complete stage 3, that's another US 25 million. To complete stage 4, it's another US 20 million. So there's some big numbers there. And then, hopefully we're at a point then where it's a decision to mine. And then we share the upfront capital costs according to our share at that time. And at that time, we would have 30%. They would have 70%. Now, they do have a right to acquire another 5% at fair market value at that time from us. If they do, that would be a big amount of cash that would come in at that time, which would obviously, that may cover a lot of our costs in terms of the upfront capital that we require. But whatever is the case, we'd be looking to debt finance any amounts that we need to do this. We won't be, the key is to minimise equity dilution now and maximise value for shareholders. And on a project like this, I'm sure that we could get some. Well, I'm optimistic that we could get debt financing for our share of any upfront capital costs.
Okay, and what might be coming next in terms of news flow over the next 6 to 9 months, say? Are we looking at permitting, resource, feasibility studies, environmental studies?
Yes, so 2 big things coming up are the maiden resource for the project and a concept study that will look at the various mining alternatives, high ground selective mining, bulk mining. Both the initial resource and the concept study are due in the second half of this calendar year. And then we're also now, stage 3 is the pre-feasibility stage. So after that, after the concept study, we'd expect a more formal pre-feasibility study. And then once that's complete, then you move into the final feasibility stage, which is the, dotting the I's and crossing the T's study to really, they used to call it the bankable feasibility study. So, the one that you can take to the bank and say, look, this project works. There's a lot coming up. And look, obviously there's also just a lot more drilling announcements. We've been reporting results approximately every 6 weeks. And there's just a lot more news to come.
Hanneman Partners have just done an excellent note as they initiate coverage. They've got you down as a timeline of 2 to 3 years to get the mine into production. Is that how you see it?
Oh yeah, I think those estimates are reasonable. It will depend. Obviously, there's a lot of moving pieces. So, and look, there could be any one piece that delays things. But look, at the moment, everything's on track, and we are all working together to fast track the commencement of this decline, which we're looking at for the end of this year, early next year. And if we can get that mining license granted, get that decline going, then we're really moving a big step forward towards commercial production.
Okay, final question, Gervais. COVID. How has COVID been affecting Western Australia?
So we put out an announcement a number of weeks ago about the impact of COVID on our business. The good news is that COVID has not impacted operations at Telfer or at Haverion. So we still have 9 rigs operating at Haverion, which is fantastic, and a tribute to Newcrest efforts. In terms of our own exploration in the broader Paterson region, we've had to put that on a temporary pause while we wait until we can get the native title clearances done. And so there's just a slight pause there. Now, the good news is that in Western Australia, they've seen 0 new COVID cases for a number of days. They've started to ease the restrictions. Cafes, restaurants, pubs are reopening. And look, hopefully everything will get back to business there sooner rather than later. So I'm optimistic that we'll be back in business in terms of our own explorations in the near future.
Gervais, CEO of Greatland Gold, that's it for today. We're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us from Australia. We do appreciate your time. For more interviews like this one, please subscribe to the London South East YouTube channel. And my final thought, do stay safe.